we're going to go through the listing presentation, and we are going to go step by step, slide by slide. So, practicing this every Friday, at least a couple times a month, will sharpen your game. So, that's what we're going to practice today. We're going to practice the slides and how to present to the sellers. All right. So, you make the calls. You get on Zillow, you find the for sale by owners, and you make the calls. Now you've got yourself an appointment. Now what? What do we do? How do we turn this for sale by owner into our listing and have a good conversation? So I usually will walk around the house. I'll bring my notepad with me, something like this. Get one of these. They just make you look professional. When you're writing things down that they're saying, they feel like you're listening, because you should be listening. And so you want to write down everything you can get them to share with you about the home and about what their wants and their needs are. So that's the first thing I do, is I start walking through the home, asking them questions about the house as if I was a buyer. I want to know about the 4 major components. Does anybody know the 4 major components to a home? AC, roof, plumbing, and electrical. AC, roof, plumbing, and electrical. Those are the 4 things we want to know, right? That's not going to be necessarily public records. So we want to make sure we get that information from the sellers. So I'm walking around the house. I'm asking questions about the house. I'm asking them, open-ended questions like, what's your favorite thing about the house? Right? What do you love most about your home? What do you think is going to be something that'll be good for marketing? And I'm asking them what their goals are. When do you want to get it sold? Where are you going to be moving to? That kind of stuff. And after I walk around the home and I build some rapport with them, I ask them to sit down. I say, I'd love to show you the comparables that I brought with me today, as well as what I would do for you just in case in the future you decide to interview real estate agents. I want to be that backup option for you. And so I bring them and sit them down and I show them some of the comparables. I've also brought with me, if you guys log on to Royal Realty, there's a video on the low pressure strategy. There's a bunch of marketing content, so like a bunch of stuff you can print out to bring with you. There's a service plan, there's a listing presentation, and there's everything you need is right there within that low pressure strategy. So I bring all that stuff with me, and this is my time to present, right? I'm showing them the CMA that I printed out. I'm showing them the Zillow review that I'm doing of their Zillow advertisement. I'm showing them all the marketing. I'm giving them a toolkit, right? There's a little toolkit. It's just a bunch of basic stuff. ChatGPT made it. Anybody could do what's in there, but it's just one more thing that you're giving them that makes them feel like you're giving value. So I give them all this stuff, and then at the end of it, I say, in the event, I'm going to give all this to you for free, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, but in the event, couple weeks, couple months down the road, you don't sell the home and you decide to interview real estate agents, I want to be that backup option for you. Does that sound fair? What do you think they're going to say? If they're reasonable, if they've allowed you to come into their home, they're going to say, yeah, that's fair for you to be the backup option. Great. I want to show you what I would do for you in case that happens. So I brought with me today my marketing plan. And here's where we pull the marketing plan out. So we're going one by one, and we're going to say, all right, so you already know this. I'm with Royal Realty. We're one of the fastest growing brokerages in Osceola County. The very first thing I'm going to do for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is I'm going to get your property all over the internet. A little out of whack here. Hold on. All over the internet. It's going to go to Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, Realtor.com, HomeSnap, Google, realestate.com, Caldwell Banker. It's also going to go all over my social medias. And today I brought with me a few examples of how we do social media. And so this is when I pull out my iPad. What I want every single one of you to do right now is go into your phone. Go into your phone. And I want you to go into your photo library. And I want you to create a new album, listing presentation examples. Cool? All right, so this is what I do that's part of my unique value proposition to sellers. I'm giving this to you. These are part of the secrets of getting a listing, okay? This is what makes you stand out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in there, and not right now, but we're going to put a bunch of examples, right? I want to see what kind of videos do you post on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. What's the difference between a virtually staged home and a non-virtually staged home? I want to see an example of a video that you've done, professional quality video that you've done of your listing. Because now you can use this to show the potential seller, here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's part of what I'm going to do for you. So for this section, I say, it's going to go all over the internet and my social medias. Let me show you an example of a video that I did recently for a client. And I go in here and I show them one of the video examples. And they go, wow, that's great. And I go, yeah. And it got, X amount of views. We generated 10 leads from this video, and this house sold for listing price within 2 months. And they love, they want to hear results, right? They don't just want to see the example. They want to know what did that do for that seller, right? What kind of results did you get for that listing? All right, so moving on from internet marketing. That's this slide here. The next thing I'm going to do for you, Mr. Seller, is I am not a professional photographer. So I'm going to hire one for you to get the best possible pictures we can of this home. How does that sound? Great. Just like, if you get down the road, you're hiring me, a professional, to sell your home. I'm going to hire a photographer to take the pictures because they're the professionals. And notice what I'm doing here. I'm laying all these things out on the table because by the end of this, it's going to look like a lot. And it is a lot. So, professional photos. Here's the difference between a professional photographer and an amateur realtor who took their own photos. So, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to promote your property across all the major listing sites. Now, my company pays for those leads. So, when somebody clicks on Zillow or Realtor.com, they click your home and they fill out their information, that lead's going to go directly to me because my company pays for those leads. And who better to sell your home than the listing agent? Next thing we're going to do is virtual tours. So we have virtual tours that we do in the home and push that out to all of our social medias. You ever been on the internet and walked through a home virtually where you can look around 360 degrees? We're going to make sure that gets done for your property. That's specifically important for out-of-town buyers. People from New York or California who are wanting to move here, but they're looking for a house first before they fly down. That's really important to them that they can do this virtual tour. So we're going to make sure that gets done. Now, this is a little outdated. It says 30. But we're going to notify all of our agents. So my company, our company, Royal Realty, has over 70 local real estate agents. And we're going to pump your listing out to all of them as soon as it hits the market. And each one of them has hundreds, if not thousands, of local buyers and sellers. So this is going to go out to all of them right away. Now, we're also part of the nation's best and largest referral network, which is made up of the top producers. So that's called Loom. And your listing is going to get pumped out all over the nation as well through our database of referral partners. Professional brochures. So we work with a local printing company. We're going to get professional brochures made. Those brochures have all the information about the house, accurate, nice, neat, pretty. And those are going to be in the home at all times for open houses, for showings. We're also probably going to do some door knocking and deliver those to the neighbors as well. Okay. Now there's a couple things in here that I do that you guys may not do. So you've got to figure out how much you're willing to spend per listing. I spend roughly about $1,000 every listing I get for marketing and photos and virtual staging and cleaning and postcards and all that stuff. It's an investment, right? So the next thing that I'm going to do for you, Mr. Seller, is I'm going to send out postcards to all your neighbors. So we're going to send out these just listed cards so all your neighbors know your house is for sale and they have the opportunity, if they know someone, to help them buy in their neighborhood. We find that oftentimes there are homeowners in the neighborhood who would like to have their relative, their family members, or even their friends move into the neighborhood with them because they're close. Now, it's another thing that I do differently, right? But we're going to let our call center work for you. So we have a call center of over 40 inside sales agents. Secret between me and you guys, this is a bunch of virtual assistants overseas that we just have do about 100 phone calls for us, right? They're just cold calling the neighborhood. So I said, let the call center do the work for you. So our call center is going to identify and contact individuals within your home's neighborhood and surrounding areas who may be interested in purchasing a home like yours. Another thing that I do that you guys may not do, I'm going to have a professional cleaning service come in here right before we take the photos and just make sure this place is spotless. It's already very clean, by the way, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. This is one of the cleanest houses I've seen. You always say that, right? You never want to offend somebody. Right. What I will do to try not to offend them, I say, hey, your house is super clean. You might not even need it. Do you want this cleaning service before we take the photos or before the final walkthrough with the buyer? Because every buyer, when they purchase a home day before closing or the day of closing, they do their final walkthrough to inspect the property. I know you're going to be moving out some of your stuff. Would you rather have it then, or would you rather have it before the photos? And they're going to say, oh, we'd probably rather have it, before the photos. Okay, great. Now another thing, again, something that I do differently that you might not do, costs money. So the way I explain this to the seller, says, here's what I recommend, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. When my company flips homes, we get them staged because we know how big of a difference it makes when a buyer walks through a staged home versus a vacant home or a home that has, owner's furniture in it. The difference it makes is it helps it sell up to 3 times faster and 20% more on average. So I recommend that you get staging. Now, that will cost you some money if you want to get staging, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Usually $1,500 to about $3,500 on average if you want to pay for staging. Now, something that I do for you for free is I'm going to get virtual staging done for you for free. Let me pull back out my iPad. Here's an example of virtual staging. Here's what the home looks like. We were able to remove all the furniture and then add in new furniture and make the house look like a new construction home, right? How they have those interior decorators come in there and light the place up. Does everybody know what virtual staging is? Some new people in here? Virtual staging, we've heard of it, we've seen it. If not, Google it. Just Google it. But that's another thing that you want to have in that listing presentation examples folder is examples of homes that are not virtually staged versus homes that are virtually staged. That's AI. But anyways, so this is something that I do differently, right? This is going to cost me about $200, $300 to do about 8 to 12 photos, depending on what's needed. So notice what I'm doing here. Starting to get a little overwhelming, right? That's what we want. We want them to see our value, all these little things that we're going to do. So the next thing I'm going to do for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is mega open houses. Are you comfortable with me doing open houses here? And they're going to say, yeah, I'd probably be comfortable with that. Or, we'd only want them to, every once in a while or something like that. I say, okay, great. Well, let me tell you a story. So this house right here, this handsome guy right here, that's my broker. And he was doing an open house here at this listing. And they actually trusted him to list a little bit under market value. The home he valued the home at $425,000. He explained to the sellers that listing under market value will actually generate more competition on the home, and people will flock to this house and hopefully, bid up the price. And that's exactly what happened. So over the course of this weekend, the first weekend he listed it, he had a mega open house, and he handed out flyers to all the neighbors. He brought in a lender to sponsor it. They got giant balloons. They email blasted it to the entire database. They put out a bunch of signs and posted it all over social media. Over the course of one weekend, this house had 75 open house attendees. It brought in 27 offers, and the house sold for $45,000 over asking price, which is $20,000 over market value. How would you like something like that? So yeah, that'd be great. And they might ask you, are we still in that type of market? And then you need to be able to have that kind of conversation. But open houses, big one there. So the last couple of slides, I'm running out of room here, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. All this stuff I'm going to do for you. So last couple of slides. So during those open houses, beforehand, I'm going to blast it out to everybody. I'm going to email it. I'm going to be calling and door knocking on your neighbors. And then during it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure all guests are registered. I'm going to be signing them in, walking them through the house. I do recommend that when we do the open houses, that you put all your belongings either in the safe or that you take them with you. But I'm going to have someone partner with me, usually on my open houses, to make sure that everybody who comes through is accompanied by a realtor, by a professional. Afterwards, I'm going to follow up relentlessly with these people. And I'm going to get them to make an offer and get them to make and give us feedback. Some of them might block me because I'm going to call them every single day for the rest of their lives until I hear from them. But that's just a couple of things that we're going to do for the open house. And here's a guide from everything from the initial visit to infinity and beyond. I'm going to be with you every step of the way, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, from today to the photos, to the listing, to marketing the home, to getting you contracts, to going over those contracts with you, to negotiating, through the inspections, through the appraisals, through the final walkthroughs, through the day of closing. I'm going to be there with you every step of the way as your professional counselor, your guidance. And my job is not to get rich overnight. My goal is to do such a good job for you that you are extremely happy with my services and you recommend me to everyone you meet who's selling or buying a home for the rest of your life. That's my goal. So, did I miss one? So what questions do you have? And this is the part. Everybody pull out your papers. Your packet that we have right here. This is the part where this comes into play. All right? So what we've done here is we've established all the different things we're going to do, right? And so when I ask, what questions do you have? We're assuming they have questions. It's a lot. What questions do you have? And I'm gathering all this back. Taking it all back. It's mine. You can't have it. I'm taking it all back here, and they're going to ask me some questions. What kind of questions do you think we're going to get? Anybody, shout it out. I don't want to pay a commission. Well, they'll probably ask you, well, how much do you charge? Right? I'm thrilled you asked that question. Today I brought with me a seller's net sheet. Actually, I brought with me 3 seller's net sheets from the title company. And it shows if we sell at this price, here's what you're going to walk away with. If you sell at this price, here's what you're going to walk away with. If we sell at this price, here's what you're going to walk away with. I charge a 6% commission. Well, let me ask you a question. Are you more concerned about what I get paid or what you walk away with? You're going to say, what I walk away with, of course. I said, great. Do you have any other questions? And then they're going to say, they're going to ask you a question about, something in the marketing plan or, whatever. And that's when you say, well, so what did you think of my marketing plan? And they're going to say, it was great. You did a really good job. I think that, you would be a great backup plan. Say, understood. And remember, this is a low pressure strategy, right? So you may get some objections. You may not get some objections. They might even be ready to list with you after you present. I've had that happen before, right? On the phone, super hard-headed. I got there in person and I did my thing. Easiest people I ever worked with. But it just depends on who you're talking to, and everybody's a little bit different. I want you guys to think about this as you're not necessarily trying to convince someone they don't want to do. You're just trying to help someone make a decision. You want to work with someone who's pleasant and wants to work with you, right? And so they're obviously reluctant. That's why they listed it on For Sale by Owner on Zillow. And so you're trying to help get them to see your value and make the decision to choose you. Not necessarily trying to convince someone who's a no to a yes. That make sense? We're wanting to move on as fast as we can to the people who want to work with us or who are willing to work with us. So let's go over some of these common objections. I don't want to pay a commission. The first response, right, we have the one we just did, which works like a charm. If you have the seller's net sheets, it works like a charm. If you don't have the seller's net sheets, you want to say something like this. Number one, what's the first thing we want to do?
I understand.
Show them that we understand what they're saying. We want to acknowledge them, right? Whenever we're handling an objection, yes, always get the appointment. Yeah. But that's the first thing, right? But
I thought you meant our goal.
that is the goal to begin with,
right,
yes. 100% that's where you start. That's why it's on the board. But when you're handling an objection, the first thing you want to do is you want to say, hey, I'm hearing you, right? I'm not oblivious to what you're saying. Because people, if you just ignore what they say, they're like, God, this guy, or this girl, like, not listening to me. Hey, I understand wanting to save on a commission. It's a very common concern. Now we want to educate them. Did you know that homes sold with an agent typically sell for 10 to 13% more on average, even after a commission? My job is to help you net the most amount of money we possibly can from the sale of your home. Now, I also handle negotiations, marketing, and paperwork to ensure you avoid costly mistakes that can eat into your profits. So acknowledge, educate, offer value. This is a low-pressure strategy we're talking about here, so we're not necessarily closing them on every attempt. Objection number 2, I can sell my house on my own. First thing we do? Acknowledge them, yes. Don't just ignore them. Don't ignore what they have to say. You're absolutely right. Some homeowners can. It's a big challenge, though. Statistics show that for sale by owners often face delays and lower offers because they lack exposure to serious buyers. I specialize in finding qualified buyers quickly and efficiently. Would it be worth a quick conversation to see how I can save you time and maximize your profits? So, agents don't do much saying or have a flat fee service. Okay, I'm not going to do every single one of these, but we're going to go over a couple of the ones that I see a lot. I'm not in a rush to sell. Has anybody gone on a for sale by owner appointment and heard that? I'm not in a rush to sell. I hear that every single time. Not in a rush to sell. That's good. You want to take your time to get the best price. I'm acknowledging what they're saying. However, timing the market is tricky. Prices could drop or interest rates could rise, reducing buyer demand. It's important to position your home correctly now to capitalize on today's market conditions. I'd be happy to provide a no strings attached market update so you can make an informed decision. Acknowledge, educate, offer value. Acknowledge, educate, offer value. Say it with me. Acknowledge, educate, offer value. Acknowledge, educate, offer value. Okay? You don't need to know exactly what to say every time, as long as you can remember acknowledge, educate, offer value. Okay, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Seller, but here's what happened in my experience. Let me do this for you. Here's what I usually do, right? We're just acknowledging, educating, and offer value. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. The more things you'll remember. What do I always say to you guys? In real estate, we're two things. Number one, a market expert, and number two, a lead generator. The reason why it's important for you to be a market expert, I mean, there's a million reasons why, but this is one of them. Because if you can remember the stats, then that gives you something to educate these people on, right? Where's the flat fee one? I've already hired a flat fee service company, or I'm thinking about hiring a flat fee service company. We hear that a lot, right? I'm gonna pay $100 to get it listed on the MLS. Flat fee services can be a good start if you're comfortable doing most of the work yourself. However, they often miss critical aspects like in-depth marketing and expert negotiation, which are essential to getting top dollar. Let me show you how I can do more than just list your home. I'll get it sold for the highest possible price, right? And if you've already presented and they say something like that, you say, okay, that flat fee company, what, if any, have they done from what I showed you? We're getting them to, this is what this is. This is our value here. We're showing them all the things that we're going to do that they probably never even thought about. And definitely flat fee companies aren't doing that stuff. I can sell it myself. Buyer's agent. All right. So those are the most common ones. Study those, read through those, hang them up on your wall in your office, your bedroom, and practice. Because that's what it's all about, right? The confidence that I have when I go into a listing appointment is from having to teach you guys. So maybe partner with somebody, find a new agent, and try to teach them, right? There's always new agents in here. So partner with somebody, practice the objections, read them yourself, maybe even a spouse or a family member. Practice these. When you guys are walking around the office, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit you with a random objection. And I expect you to give me a good rebuttal. Acknowledge me, educate me, and offer value. Okay? At the end of any conversation, so I'm at the closing script part on the last page. Second to last page, maybe? At the end of any conversation, use this. I understand your concerns, and I'd love the opportunity to show you how I can make the process easier and more profitable for you. Can we schedule a quick 15-minute chat to explore more options? Instructions for agents. Use this guide to prepare for sale by owner objections, practice these scripts to handle conversations confidently, build trust by listening first and then providing value. So listen. When you're on these appointments, it's important that you listen. We're so nervous. and we're so ready to, we're probably thinking about the commission, 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever it is, and we're not paying attention to them. And that's what it's all about. You have to come from a place in your heart. I promise you, if you come from a place in your heart where you care about the person you're sitting next to or across from, they will feel that. And you will have a better chance because they can 100% feel that. So, care about them, listen to them, acknowledge them, educate them, offer value. Thank you guys for coming today. We've got some food for you somewhere. It's over there. It's behind me too. It's all over the place. It's a scavenger hunt. Absolutely. Come on up.